To all of my panelists, we've just had the AI summit, which is concluded, and despite its teething issues on administration, etc., I think there were several positive takeaways that one could sort of, take away from this panel. So, to start off, the New Delhi Declaration, which I think about 90 countries have signed till now, and it has placed AI diffusion and sharing that critical AI infrastructure, uh, you know, at the heart and center of the declaration. So if I could start with maybe Professor Shukla on, what are your takeaways really from the New Delhi Declaration? Is it a, catch up that India is playing, or are we in a position to lead this initiative where we are not vying for frontier models, but really for building on top of AI?
Yeah, so I believe that, as Mr. Kant was saying before, that AI should become a digital public infrastructure in some form or the other. And that digital public infrastructure will form the base layer of AI, on top of which the sector-specific data will be used to retrain the models to make sector-specific models, and from that, organization-specific models on top of that, and on top of that, maybe individual-specific models with the individual's private data. So, so in that sense, we really need a foundational model. I think without the foundational model, if we are using, ChatGPT, Gemini, Anthropic, etc., we are giving all our data to them. And as Mr. Kant was saying that, the data is going to be the main, strategic asset for,
Right.
for any country. And if we are sending all our data, because all our users are using those models, we are missing an opportunity to build our model, and they will now build products which are trained on our model to sell it back to us like British colonialism. So we have to worry about, and given the current geopolitics, we have to worry about this neo-colonialism if we are not careful. So while it is good to talk about diffusion of AI, and various countries, especially Global South, needs to catch up in this AI race, but I think we have a lot to catch up in terms of creating the foundational infrastructure on top of which further models can be built. We
Right.
cannot rely on Gemini and ChatGPT, etc., in my opinion.
Right. Sarkar, Ms. Sarkar.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me here. I think last week was a very energized week, and with several high-level discussions happening on AI. We heard about AI diffusion quite a bit, and it was also mentioned by Mr. Kant. So for AI diffusion, as we heard several times, there are a few building blocks, right? We need compute, we need connectivity, electricity, we need the talent and the skills and the linguistic capabilities to develop multilingual models, especially when we are looking at AI diffusion in the Global South. So for enabling all of this, the theme that has emerged several times is AI sovereignty, AI competitiveness. And in today's world, I don't think there is any country which can really own the entire AI value chain. So for that, it's important that there are some partnerships that are built strategically, and people are able to participate in the AI value chain across different nations. So in that sense, I think it's crucial that India takes the lead in bringing different countries together, in trying to form that common base of understanding, and where strategic partnerships can really enable different countries to participate in the AI economy. I think that's one of the greatest points that have come out through these declarations and the participation in Pax Silica, etc. So there are several such measures India has now started taking a lead on, which will really enable countries both in the Global North and Global South to participate in the AI economy.
Right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Jibu, your thoughts before we dive into the questions.
Yeah, so one thing I have specifically want to bring up about the summit itself is, it's a continuation of summits we started in Bletchley Park a few years back.
Right.
So this summit and this declaration marks a pivotal moment in the larger AI governance narrative as well. Because what we started as something like an AI safety summit in the Bletchley Park or in Seoul, now we are looking at how we can ensure the benefit of AI reaches a larger section of the population. So that's itself is a big difference. For many, the conversation around AI has been dominated by frontier risk, existential risk. But now we are speaking about the accumulated risk. What are the real life consequences of AI? That's one thing. Secondly, from an Indian standpoint of view, many countries look up to India in terms of AI. And in a time of a large global uncertainty, right? You wake up one day and you hear one tariff, and you go to sleep and you come back hearing another tariff. So in an age of such global uncertainties, it's important that somebody like India should take the lead, especially from Global South. And we have been, this is not the first time we've been telling this, right? Since 2020, I think 2020, I was part of the team who organized RACE Summit. It was on one of the largest online AI summit with 76,000 participants during that time. And in that itself, the Honorable Prime Minister has said it very clear, right? India wants to become a garage for AI tools for the rest of the world. Because as you were mentioning in your opening, setting the stage, the diversity and in terms of demography, geography, and the data, that is our largest strength. So if something works for India, it definitely can translate to other countries. Like look at what UPI is happening. It's now in Singapore. It's now happening in Dubai. So a larger part of that, that's why India. It's important that someone like India should take lead going forward.
Fair enough. Arunima, I want to start with you. You've been in Geneva and you've just returned. And you've been, so to say, at the center of where it all happens when it comes to a global scale. From a WEF perspective, how is this India's approach to AI for all being seen and the approach that we have taken where innovation takes the center stage instead of a EU approach where safety takes the center stage? And there have been several companies complaining that, when safety takes that amount of precedence, innovation, sort of is bound by certain boundaries, and that can't happen. Your thoughts, please.
So I spent the last few years in Geneva, but before that I was working in India, and probably it's not known to everybody. The Forum's India office was working closely with the Indian government and specifically with Niti Aayog on developing India's responsible AI policy. So in fact, I was privileged enough to work with Ms. Anna Roy and her team in drafting India's national responsible AI policy. And so the principles and the framework were all done in collaboration with the Forum, and we consulted partners all over the world before these principles were released. So, India's role in driving inclusive AI for all, is something that the Forum has been very closely involved with, and India has always been seen as a forerunner in this space. Yeah.
Professor Shukla, you've talked about, when it comes to infrastructure especially, India, and like you rightly mentioned even now, that India needs to build its own infrastructure. And being the director of IIIT Hyderabad, where do you think, or what do you think should be the approach of our academic institutions? We've talked about giving them access to EDM tools. We've talked about having their semiconductor chips taped out at SCL Mohali. When it comes to AI, which is far more democratic than a semiconductor chip can or other technologies can be, what should be the approach of really educational institutions, and how should we go on about it?
So, actually, Indian academia and Indian students are very good at using ChatGPT, Gemini, Anthropic, etc., to build some, build some front end, make some functionality out of it, right? So it's not a problem that to create solutions out of this back-end solutions. But if you look at this morning only, I was reading the Google VP is saying that the startup economy in the AI solutions is going to close, because it's like the cloud, right? So in the beginning, when the cloud came, people started building value-added products on top of AWS, but then Amazon or Microsoft added the enterprise solutions on top of their own cloud, and therefore only security and few other things were valuable as outside. Everything was integrated. So similarly, the comment was that this AI startup field that only depends on using APIs of back-end large-scale models, that's going to not thrive much because Google will do it, Anthropic will do it, OpenAI will do it. They want to monetize their own models, right? So therefore, we have to actually tell our students, not to get attracted to those easy solutions because those are very easy to do. I see, hundreds of startups, even in IIIT, they are doing various things out, by using the back-end this thing. So my approach should be, my advice would be to approach AI from a foundational point of view, right? And build, like DeepSeek, right? The DeepSeek is a foundational, development that used, reinforcement learning and with low compute. Also, there are lots of the problems that are unnecessarily being solved with generative AI, which could be solved by what we call SLMs, the small language models. Because small language models also do not require that much compute. So I think that we have to be a lot more innovative, and we have to push our students to be innovative rather than going for very easy solution by just putting front end and API calls to Gemini and all that stuff. So I think that's what we are trying to do at IIIT, and I would think that would be something that we should keep our minds on.
So is the traditional, sort of BTech degree that we know, 4-year BTech degree, is that enough BTech in computer science and you are done and, you work for a software company, or you, like you said, you put some API calls on the top of some of these LLMs?
You really do not need BTech to do that, right? So you can actually do that very easily. So another issue that we are struggling with is that the technology is going to change from now on at a very rapid pace. So we are telling our students that, that don't be just, see, in India, for some reason, including IITs, instead of becoming educational centers, they have become skilling centers. So we expect, our companies expect when they come to interview, that they would have this skill or that skill and so on. But that's not education. So what we are trying to say is that, your education should be complete. You should know how to communicate. You should know how to work in teams. You should know how to, be resilient. You have to know how to think in terms of system level thinking rather than one or two skills. You may have to have a few skills, but don't depend on those skills to be your only tools, right? So we are trying to make sure, and this is World Economic Forum also has this report in December that said that, human skills are going to become more important than the technology skills. So we are actually trying to, so the BTech should not be only about, knowing how to program this or that and so on. BTech should be a full-fledged education, and we need to actually change our way of all the universities and colleges on how we impart education.
Fair enough. Jibu, this question is for you, and you had Mozilla in India, and Mozilla has been a champion of open source, anything open source. But in a global scenario where every country and every company really is running towards a sovereign capacity, what do you think should be India's approach to building these LLMs or building AI and balancing it with the need of being, collaborative with everyone, all other countries across the world?
So from giving an Indian perspective, India's perspective, so work we do, Mozilla Foundation do in India, has to do with something Professor just said right now. We are working with 10 universities across India, including IITs, in rethinking what computer science education looks like in the age of AI. We believe an interdisciplinary approach is must, and that's one of the work we've been doing. Now, coming to India's approach, I wanted to say something a little controversial here, is that, see, we asked this question, right, why we haven't had the kind of capacity building like what US or China has, or in some of the European countries you can have. So the one major thing, as Professor also mentioned, you graduate, our middle class aspiration has been set for, you take a BTech course, you get into a IT company, right? And the reality is that Indian IT sector is not designed as a capacity building entity, it was set up as an extraction entity, right? Indian IT sector, because I still know fresh graduates who is getting paid 2.5 lakhs to 3 lakhs as annual salary, even now, right? And if you take the words of Narayan Murthy himself, you work 76 hours, 68 hours. That's not capacity building, that's exploitation. So I keep telling, if China, if Chinese, the people in China spoke better English than us, we will never have an IT sector, to be honest. So that's where the first change we need to make, right?
Right.
So it's to against this particular flow of things that our startups and like Sarvam or one startup we seldom miss out is Core Over. They have also came out with Bharat GPT, which is an offline language model, right? So they have came across. So that's one of the important thing. Coming to open source, now we are kind of have a not so open playing field, but the equations have changed, right? It's no longer about OpenAI or Google or Anthropic holding the cards. And why that happened? Because of open source AI models, especially from China. DeepSeek, right? Kimi, Quen, they all came in, right? And right now, on my phone, I'm running multiple of these models. I can run offline as well. So that changed the equation. And that's where the value also lies. If you look at many of the countries in global south, they don't have the kind of infrastructure, especially in terms of compute. The access to GPUs and all other things. So for all these countries, open source provide a new way of approaching. And we've been telling, we want AI to be a digital public infrastructure, or we want to position AI as a digital commons, right? And if you want to do that, the only way to do is through open source, right? Not like the Meta's open source, but proper open source. So I think that's one of the important things we have to consider going forward.
Right.
Yeah, I like the idea of proper open source.
Right. Jibu, I'll start with you, and it's a difficult ask, but in one sentence, would you be able to sort of summarize that? Is the AI for India right now, should it be a productivity tool, or should it be a tool to create new industries, or disrupt the current industries and create industries that we may not have possibly heard of, if in one or two lines, and for all of you all as well. So, and then we can go to the audience questions.
I can't stop it in one line, but I have to say before that,
Yeah.
like we mentioned AI as a tool of democratic tool. No, it's not. A big chunk of our population doesn't have access to these AI tools.
Correct.
Right? Like what is the percentage of Indians who can speak English? That's like around 20% or less than that. They use all these tools. Then there are people who have access. Look at people who speak Gondi or Tangkul, Naga, or, all these languages. They don't have the benefit of any of these languages. So I think first we need to make sure this technology benefits everyone and reaches at the hand of everyone. Then we will see the real magic happening.
Fair enough. Arunima, your views.
So I would say AI should be a tool which improves the quality of life of every Indian. That is the stage when we think AI is inclusive, AI is for all, which could be productivity, efficiency, better health, food security, all the different social challenges and the social outcomes that we aspire for as a nation. So that would be my ambition for what should AI be for India.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Professor Shukla, your views.
So, as Jibu said, that we need to reach the last person in the country, and that's we have a lot of penetration of cell phones and so on. So we should be able to run AI on those things, and also in our own language. But the most important thing, I think, is that we should make sure that AI is a tool for us. We are not tool for AI. And that is where this safety and reliable and accountability, etc., should come in. I think that for the diffusion of AI, you should not forget what we discussed in the last summit, which is the safety, right? Because AI has a potential to be very unsafe.
Correct.
So I think that we should not become enslaved by AI. AI should be enslaved by us, and that must be really, really important thing to make sure.